Hello and welcome to the Hard to Handle Sports Podcast. This is episode number 23. My name is Ismael San Juan. Thank you so much for being here. On today's episode, I'm going to give my picks for NFL Week 15. Also going to give my picks for Premier League Matchday 14, as well as do a deep dive on the Eagles versus Cardinals. Jalen Hurts versus Kyle Murray should be a fun one. Deep dive into the Saints versus the Chiefs. In the Premier League, I'm going to take a closer look at Everton versus Arsenal, Tottenham versus Leicester City, as well as my Wolves versus Burnley to wrap it up. It should be a good episode. Let's get started. It's NFL Week 15. We have 3 weeks left to the playoffs. Very excited to see how this all plays out. There's a lot of teams still vying for playoff positions to move up in the standings. Who's going to finish with the top 7 positions in each conference? It's going to be really interesting to see who ends up winning the wild card race, who ends up, how teams position themselves, the matchups we're going to see in the playoffs. Very excited to see how this NFL season concludes. But let's get started with my NFL Week 15 picks. First game, I'm not going to do my pick on the Chargers versus the Raiders because they are currently playing right now. And it's Thursday, so I'm going to leave that out. I'm just going to predict the games on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So let's get started. Bills versus Broncos. I have the Bills winning. The Broncos played really good last week against the Panthers. 2 teams that are not the worst teams in the NFL, but they're not the best. They're out of the playoff contention basically. They put on a pretty good show last week. The Broncos look good. Drew Lock looked good. Threw 4 touchdowns. Didn't throw any interceptions. I like what I see from the Broncos. Once they get their players back next year, they should be a threat. But this year, I don't think they have enough to beat the Bills, even if they're at home. I have the Bills taking care of business. I have Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs going into Denver and taking care of business. The Bills are probably the second best team in the AFC right now, the way they've been playing. So I have the Bills beating the Broncos at Denver. The second game, Panthers at Green Bay. Panthers versus the Packers. I have the Panthers losing to the Packers. The Packers are going to take care of business. They're the number 1 seed in the NFC. They have a chance. They have an opportunity this week to take a bigger lead on the Saints as the Saints play the Chiefs. So the Saints could lose that game. I have the Packers taking care of business. Aaron Rodgers is not going to lose that number 1 spot. He's going to want that. He's going to want that first round bye. I don't have the Panthers being able to stop Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, Adams. I just don't see them having enough horses on defense. I don't see their offense being able to keep up with them on that side of the field. So Packers take care of business and they beat the Panthers. Next game, Texans versus Colts, is their second game in 2 weeks. Texans, these divisional games, it could go any way. You never know what's going to happen when it comes to the divisional games, especially when you have an elite quarterback like Watson on that side of the field. But I think they have too many injuries on the offensive side. They're asking for Watson to do too much right now. So because of that, the Colts are playing great football. Phillip Rivers is taking care of the football. T.Y. Hilton has come on strong the last few weeks. And the running game's going. Hines, Taylor's getting it going now. So because of that, I think the Texans are going to lose again to the Colts. Colts are going to keep pace with the Titans in the AFC South. Next game, Bears versus Vikings. 2 teams that are on the outside looking in the NFC right now. Both are 6-7. Both have a slim chance to go to the playoffs. Whoever wins this game is going to keep their chances alive. Whoever loses could pack it up and get ready for vacation. So I don't have Trubisky playing good again. He's been playing great like the last few weeks, but I don't think he could keep it up. I don't think he's able to do that. They do have a chance just because Montgomery has been hot the last few weeks. I have him on fantasy, so I know how many points he's putting. I know he's running great. He's really picked it up in the second half of the season. Because of that, the Bears do have a punchy chance if Trubisky could play good again. But I don't trust Trubisky. I trust Cousins to get it going again with Jefferson, with Thielen. They lost to the Buccaneers last week. Their kicker missed like 4 kicks. I think their kicker does a little better this week, and the Vikings get the win at home versus the Bears. Next game, Seattle versus Washington. Seattle goes to Washington. Washington has been playing good. Their defense is carrying that team. Their defense is elite. But they've been winning these games with Alex Smith. Alex Smith It's proven to be a winner in the NFL. He can win. When he has a defense, when he has some weapons on the field, he could win. The problem with that is that Alex Smith got hurt last game. He's questionable. He's questionable for this game. And if they play Dwayne Haskins, I don't give him a chance. I do not trust Dwayne Haskins. He's not a good NFL quarterback. I have no trust in Dwayne Haskins. If he plays, Seattle should be the favorites easily. Even if Alex Smith plays, I think Seattle still has enough to get it done in Washington. Antonio Gibson is questionable too. We see if he plays, but I think Seattle stays in the hunt for the NFC West, and they beat Washington in Washington. Next game, Patriots versus Dolphins. Patriots are coming off Thursday night defeat to the Rams. They got pummeled. They got embarrassed. It wasn't really a game. Cam Newton's been struggling. And on the other side, the Dolphins put up a fight against the Chiefs. I think the 4 drives in the middle of the game in the third quarter where they had 3 and outs. They had an interception. I think that's what ultimately cost them the game. They made a nice comeback in the end, but I think you can't give that much of a lead to Patrick Mahomes and expect to win. But they showed hard. They showed a lot of promise. I like what I saw from them, especially in the fourth quarter. So I think the Dolphins have enough to beat the Patriots at home and keep their playoff chances alive. So I have the Dolphins beating the Patriots in Week 15, keeping their playoff chances alive. And we'll see how Tua does against the Patriots. But I do think they have enough. Dolphins defense is good too. So I think Patriots offense is going to keep struggling. Dolphins beat the Patriots in Week 15. Next game, Ravens versus Jaguars. There's not too much to say about this game. Jaguars are vying for that first overall pick. Minshew is back in the starting lineup. He played good. I think he gives them the best shot to win. But the Ravens showed their heart, showed their tenacity against the Browns, how they came back. Lamar Jackson, I think he's going to put on the show these last 3 weeks to carry the Ravens into the playoffs. I don't see the Ravens missing the playoffs, and I think it starts right here. I think the Ravens beat the Jaguars, take care of business. Jaguars stay in contention for the first overall pick. Ravens are beating the Jaguars at home. Next game, Buccaneers versus Falcons. Same thing, along the same lines as the Ravens game. The Buccaneers need to get in the run, need to finish the season strong to go into the playoffs as a contender, as a tough team to play. And I think they're going to harass Matt Ryan. Last week, the Buccaneers defense harassed Cousins. There's a lot of times where the Vikings looked like they were going to start getting something going, and the Buccaneers defense was able to harass Kirk Cousins and prevent them from going on sustained drives. I think that's what they're going to do against the Falcons. They're going to take care of the Falcons in Atlanta and really start building momentum, hopefully carry it into the playoffs, because if they're able to build momentum, if they're able to go into the playoffs on a nice win streak, then the Buccaneers could be a dangerous team. So I have them beating the Falcons in Atlanta. Buccaneers are going to win. 49ers versus Cowboys. Both teams got, the 49ers and the Cowboys are still alive. Both teams are still alive. The Cowboys were able to beat the Bengals last week, and the 49ers lost to Washington football team. So because of that, I have the 49ers. I think I trust them a little more. Even though the Cowboys have been playing a little better, the 49ers are better than the Bengals. I don't think they're going to have enough to beat the 49ers. And I think the 49ers, as long as they run the ball, they keep the ball out of Mullins' hands, because he's susceptible for a pick six or just like some dumb plays throughout the game. I think the 49ers get back to their running game, run the ball, don't ask too much from Mullins, and I think that should be enough to beat the Cowboys, even if they are playing in Jerry's World, even though they are playing in Dallas. So I have the 49ers beating the Cowboys and keeping their slim, tiny playoff chances still alive. Eagles versus Cardinals. I believe in Jalen Hurts. He showed a lot of promise against the Saints. Number one defense coming in that week. He looked good. He ran for over 100 yards. I'm going to do a deep dive on this game, but I do have the Eagles winning against the Cardinals. Jets versus Rams. Jets, Jets. Jets. They're going to have the first overall pick. There's no way they beat the Rams. Rams are going to take care of business. They look good against the Patriots last week. Showed up on Thursday Night Football. Akers is looking good. Goff is not turning over the ball as much anymore. Rams take care of business against the Jets. Jets are continuing to go for that 0-16 season. Chiefs versus Saints. Doesn't look like Drew Brees is going to play, so it's going to be a tough game for the Saints. Chiefs are kind of struggling to close out games. It seems like they keep on winning by one possession, but I do have the Chiefs winning. I'm going to do the deep dive on this too, so stick around for that. Browns versus Giants on Sunday Night Football. Giants struggled last week against the Cardinals. Daniel Jones looks like he's still recovering from that injury that he sustained like 2 weeks ago. Because of that, even though the Giants have been playing better, I believe in the Browns. The Browns look good against the Ravens on Monday Night Football. So I have the Browns beating the Giants, taking care of business, and clinching a playoff spot. I believe they could clinch a playoff spot this week. And Steelers versus Bengals. Bengals have their backup quarterback, even though they're playing in Cincinnati. And even though the Steelers are struggling right now, and it looks like they were a fluky 11-0, I have them getting back into winning ways, snapping the 2-game losing streak, and beating the Bengals on Monday Night Football to get back on the winning column. Steelers should beat the Bengals, in my opinion. And those are my Week 15 picks. If you guys have any problems with these picks, let me know. If you're watching it on YouTube, just comment down below. If you're listening to it on the podcast, I will link my Twitter in the bottom. So just tweet at me. If you don't have a Twitter, I'll put my email down there. Send me an email. Whatever. If you have a problem, you want to get in touch with me, just let me know what do you guys have a problem with in my picks. And we're able to discuss them. I can see how people would choose like the Cardinals or maybe the Saints or even the Giants. So, there's a lot of good games that could go different ways this week. So just let me know if you guys have any disagreements with my picks. But let's move on to the Premier League. Premier League Matchday 14 is this weekend. We had Matchday 13 over the middle of the week. But my picks for the Premier League Matchday 14, Crystal Palace versus Liverpool. Liverpool is coming off a great victory over Tottenham in the middle of the week, securing that top of the table again. I think Liverpool is just going to be too much for Crystal Palace. I have Liverpool beating Crystal Palace, even though they're playing at Crystal Palace. Southampton versus Man City. Southampton has been one of the surprises this Premier League season. They're starting off hot. I think they should have. I thought they were going to beat Arsenal during the middle of the week. They had one more man. They've looked good. They took care of my Wolves. They're playing good soccer. Walker got that goal against Arsenal. First goal he has against Arsenal after being there for so many years. They've looked good. Man City has created a lot of chances, but they're not able to finish their chances. I think this is the game where they beat a tough opponent. They build momentum. Southampton is like in the top 10 of the table. I think Man City finally gets it together, finally puts their chances away. I think Man City is going to beat Southampton at Southampton. Everton versus Arsenal. Everton is picking up steam again after starting off hot and going down low. Looks like roller coaster. I'm going to deep dive into this game, but I have Everton winning this game. Arsenal just keeps struggling. Newcastle at Fulham. Fulham has been playing better as of lately. Newcastle just got 5 scored on by Leeds. So both teams need to win. I have this game ending at a draw. Newcastle versus Fulham. I think both teams are pretty even. So I predict both teams are going to tie. 1-1 tie, I think. Next game, Brighton versus Sheffield. Sheffield is struggling right now. I can't pick Sheffield to win right now. After Sheffield did so good last season, they're just struggling right now. They had a chance to beat or at least get a tie against United today, but they couldn't. They couldn't get it done. And on Matchday 13, they couldn't get it done. They have 1 point out of 13 games. The worst start in the Premier League. I just can't pick Sheffield. Brighton have scored 2 goals in the last 4 games, so they're not looking that good either. Sheffield has showed some promise even after the game versus United. Their coach had this interview, and he said that, I think we deserve more points than we have. I think that is true. They have been playing some tough games. They haven't looked bad. So I do have Brighton and Sheffield tying. I think Sheffield starts to finally get some points on the table. I don't think they just keep on losing all these games. They got to turn it around sometime. I think it starts versus Brighton, getting a tie, getting another point, doubling their season total, as crazy as that sounds. Tottenham versus Leicester, another game I'm going to do a deep dive on, but Tottenham, I think they bounce back. I think they show heart, and they beat Leicester. Manchester United versus Leeds. I actually have Leeds pulling up the upset at Manchester United at Old Trafford. Manchester United is a different team at home. I don't understand that. I can't point my finger at something. Even the coach, Ole, doesn't know what's going on. He's like, maybe at home, and then he stops. He can't explain it. I can't explain it either. Leeds is an offensive team. They like pushing people forward. They just dropped 5 goals on Newcastle. I think they'll take advantage of the Manchester United defense, and I think Leeds pulls up the upset and they beat Manchester United. West Brom at Aston Villa. Aston Villa's having a pretty good season. They look good in the middle of the week. They had a lot of shots against West Brom. They just couldn't finish them. I mean, they had a lot of chances in the middle of the week versus Burnley, but they couldn't finish it. They couldn't get it done. But they've looked good. I think Aston Villa is on its way up. They're one of the teams I had for relegation at the beginning of the year, but they have 2 games in hand, and they're like in the middle of the table with potential to go up, especially on such a compacted table. And West Brom, they have the worst league. They have the worst defense in the league. So I think Aston Villa created a lot of chances, and they're able to net a couple goals, and they get the win against West Brom. Burnley versus Wolves. I think the Wolves build on their big win against Chelsea. I'm gonna do a deep dive on this game too, but Burnley's fighting for relegation. Wolves are off a big win against Chelsea. I think Wolves continue to build momentum, and they get the win at Burnley. And the last game for Matchday 14, Chelsea versus West Ham. Chelsea have not been top 13 side in the Premier League this season. West Ham are in the top 10 of this top 10 of the table. They've looked pretty good. They tied in the middle of the week. I think West Ham and Chelsea draw at Stamford Bridge. And those are my picks for Matchday 14 of the Premier League. I'm very excited. The Premier League is super entertaining this year, more entertaining than previous years maybe. I know Liverpool and City have been breaking records the last few seasons on points, goals scored, you name it, you call it, whatever you want to say. They've been breaking records, win streak, goals conceded, whatever. There's so many records been broken by City and Liverpool, just running away with it, or both of the teams going to the end. City running away with it, both teams fighting till the end, Liverpool running away with it. Now we have one of the most competitive seasons in the Premier League in a long time. Super entertaining soccer, super entertaining table. Seems like every week there's so much fluctuation in the top 6 and the top 10. I'm enjoying this season a lot. I hope that it stays like this for the remainder of the season. I don't want some team to break away. I think there's a lot of parity in the league right now. I think there's a lot of entertaining games. I think there's a lot of games every week that influence the table a lot, and I love that. So I'm very excited to see how Matchday 14 of the Premier League plays out. There's a lot of good games. Only have time to deep dive into 2 games, 3 games actually, because I always got to do my Wolves because I love my Wolves. And I think Everton versus Arsenal is going to be a great game, and Tottenham versus Leicester. Those are all going to be good games, but Crystal Palace at Liverpool, that should be another good game. Southampton, Man City, 2 teams towards the top of the table. And even Leeds versus Manchester United, 2 teams that love to go on the offense, kind of leaky defenses. Even Chelsea versus West Ham, a lot of good games this week, a lot of good games. So make sure to tune in to the Premier League this weekend. It's going to be a great Matchday 14. But that's enough for my picks for Matchday 14. Now I'm going to do some deep dives into some games to wrap up this podcast. It's going to take a while because the deep dives take a while, but Eagles versus Cardinals, Chiefs versus Saints, Everton versus Arsenal, Tottenham versus Leicester, and my Wolves versus Burnley is coming up. So let's get started. Eagles versus Cardinals. The Eagles come in as 4-8-1. The Cardinals come in as the last playoff team in the NFC. They're the 7th seed. They come in at 7-6. They finally got off their losing streak. They beat the Giants last week. And the Eagles beat the Saints last week. Saints had the number 1 defense. Eagles were starting rookie quarterback Jalen Hurts for the first time. Kind of felt like they were putting him in a position to fail, so that they could say, "Hey, that's why Carson Wentz has been struggling." But the kid showed up. I was rooting for Jalen Hurts to have a big game. I was super happy when I saw that he was balling out. I was super happy when I saw that they had the lead and they had a chance to win. I was like, "Oh man, I hope they pull it off," and they did. I think Jalen Hurts adds another dynamic to that offense. He's more of a new age quarterback. Wentz is mobile. He could get some runs. He could get some yards running. He could extend plays, but he doesn't have that straight line speed that Jalen Hurts has. He doesn't have that threat that Jalen Hurts have, and Jalen Hurts is more in the mold of like a Kyle Murray. He could run. He's fast. He could run. It's gonna be exciting seeing them both scrambling, running quarterbacks, seeing who runs for more yards, who has the better throws. Jalen Hurts just adds another dynamic. I think it helps. It also helps their running back Sanders, just having the threat of Jalen Hurts keeping the ball on those RPOs, on the run play options. So I think Jalen Hurts injects life into that offense. I think seeing Murray and Jalen Hurts is going to be one of the best QB battles of the week. I'm really excited to see how those play out. This new transformation of quarterbacks in the NFL where they're going, you hardly see any pocket passers just that can't run like a Phillip Rivers or a Tom Brady. All these new quarterbacks that are coming out, they could all run, they could all scramble. Just if you look at the rookies from this year, Jalen Hurts, he could run. He's probably the fastest one this year. Joe Burrow, he's mobile. He's recovering from a leg injury, but he's mobile. Tua, he doesn't have the straight line speed, but he's definitely mobile. And then Justin Herbert, he could run too. All of them mobile. All of the picks in the top, they're all mobile. I think the last one I can remember that wasn't that mobile was probably Jared Goff. And he could kind of run a little bit, but not really. I think we're going towards those running quarterbacks, and this is going to be one of those battles that I am very interested to see. The Saints hadn't given up a 100-yard rusher in 56 games, and the Eagles had 2 in 1. So that just goes to show, like, just having the threat of Jalen Hurts, keeping the ball running, having that straight line speed. It puts the defense in a tough spot. I know it's going to keep the Cardinals' defense up at night. They don't have like a vaunted defense like the Saints, so I do think that's going to be one of the keys for the game for the Eagles to limit the throws for Jalen Hurts. He looked good, but he's a rookie, so he still hasn't seen all the coverages. He still doesn't know how to check into some throws, into some runs. I think the key for the game for the Eagles is to run the ball, and run the ball. But like I said, he's not that good of a thrower. I mean, it's not that he's not that good of a thrower. It's that he hasn't done it enough. He doesn't have the reps. Defenses could still confuse him. And he needs more reps. Like, for all the good thing about Jalen Hurts, he only completed 2 passes over 10 yards that traveled more than 10 yards against the Saints. So for the most part, he was just dinking and dunking, small routes, on short routes, wide receivers running across. They kept it simple for him. They simplified the offense. Maybe they should have been doing that with Wentz. I know he was struggling, and they were just not really helping him out. But they helped out Hurts. He looked good. I think they should continue to do that. One of the problems for the Eagles is that they lost their right tackle. They will be without Reddick. I mean, they will be without Jack Driscoll, so they're going to have to play Matt Pryor. And Hassan Reddick had 5 sacks against the Giants. He has the most sacks for the Cardinals. He had 5 before the game with the Giants. He had 5 against the Giants. He has 10 sacks now. So that's going to be one of the keys to the game, seeing how Hassan Reddick does against the backup Matt Pryor. And the Eagles will be without their safety, Rodney McLeod, and their starting corner, Avonte Maddox. And they might be without Darius Slay, their top cornerback. They paid a lot of money to in the offseason. He has a concussion. So a lot of injuries in the defense, especially in the secondary. And when you're going up against DeAndre Hopkins, that could be trouble. The problem with the Cardinals is that their offense hasn't been clicking as much as it was in the first 6 games of the season. Cliff Kingsbury is supposed to be an offensive genius, but his offensive concepts don't look that intense, or they don't look that complicated. They seem pretty simple. So I'm interested to see if they're able to expose the Eagles secondary. They're going to be without their safety and their other starting corner, Avonte Maddox. But if they're without Darius Slay too, and this Cardinal offense isn't able to punish them, then that's going to really cause some concerns. It's going to really diminish my expectations for the Cardinals, even if they are able to hold on for a playoff spot. If they're not able to take advantage of this secondary, then I don't see them going further than the first game, the first wild card round against anybody. So they should take advantage against this secondary. But the Eagles do have the second most sacks in the league, so their front line gets a lot of pressure on quarterbacks. So that's going to be a key for the Eagles. Get a lot of sacks, pressure Murray out of the pocket, make him feel uncomfortable, and help out your defensive backs because you're definitely going to be without your safety and you're definitely going to be without your other starting corner, and you might be without Darius Slay too. So I think Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox are going to have big games. Fletcher Cox down the middle, Graham on the edge, try to get to Murray, try to stop the run, try to stop that Cardinals offense. But I like Jalen Hurts a lot. I like what he brings to the table. I don't trust the Cardinals defense. I don't know if Cliff Kingsbury could make that offense potent enough to make up for the Eagles. The Eagles showed a lot of life last week against the Saints. Really impressed. The Saints were people forget the Saints were the number 1 seed in the NFC, and they were riding like an 8 or 9 game winning streak. For the Eagles to do that and Jalen Hurts first game, I'm very, very, very excited to see where the Eagles are able to go. They're still alive, and if the Seahawks beat Washington, then they would be 1 game behind for the division lead against Washington, and they play each other on week 17. So I think that's going to be some great football that might get flexed into Sunday Night Football. I want to see that happen. I want to see the Eagles against the Washington in week 17 duke it out for the division. Because of that, I have the Eagles 24, Cardinals 20. So moving along to the next game, the hyped up game of the week. It has the potential to be the best game of the year. Chiefs and Saints in week 15. 2 high-powered offenses, 2 of the Super Bowl picks. I know almost everybody has the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl. You may have some other picks in the AFC. You may think the Steelers could turn it around. You may think the Bills could get there. And the Saints, the NFC is wide open. They're going to be definitely in the contention to make it to Super Bowl. But Chiefs versus Saints. Chiefs come in at 12-1. Saints 10-3, come in as a 2nd seed in the NFC. Chiefs are the top seed in the NFL, number 1 seed in the AFC. Chiefs just beat the Dolphins. It was a pretty entertaining game. The Dolphins made it interesting at the end. Chiefs were able to hang on as they usually do this whole season. That's been the story of this year. Chiefs take a lead and then they hold on for it at the end. Saints are coming off a defeat against the Eagles. Jalen Hurts' first game. They had the number 1 defense going into that game, but they got exposed a little bit against the Eagles. They had an off day. Now they're the number 2 defense. Drew Brees does have a chance to play against the Chiefs. I think if he wasn't 41 years old, if he hadn't had the injury history he's had in his previous seasons, I think they would let him play. But because Taysom Hill hasn't played, he hasn't had a terrible game. You can't really point to him as the reason why they lost any of these games. He hasn't done a lot to elevate the rest of the teams, but you can't say he's been the reason why they lose these games. So I think they take it easy with Drew Brees. They let him fully recover, and they start Taysom Hill. So I think Taysom Hill should get the start. The Chiefs are the number 1 seed. I think they're going to show up. I think like they've shown up for the majority of this season. They're going to take a big lead or start off hot and then just hold on at the end. I think the final score will be closer than what the game reflects, as these Chiefs games usually happen. Like, I don't know, for some reason they just are not able to win by double digits when you think they have the potential to really blow teams out. I think teams give them their best shots. They're the champions. Everybody wants to see how they measure up against the Chiefs. So teams never give up against the Chiefs. They're always there. They're always trying to come back. They're always trying to see how hard they could play them. I think the Saints do have a shot. They have a great defense. If anybody could match up against the Chiefs, it would be the Saints. They have Lattimore that could cover Tyreek Hill. They have some linebackers. They have some safeties that they could put on Kelce. But, man, those are 2 of the best weapons in the NFL. Travis Kelce comes in leading the NFL in yards receiving. That's unheard of. No player, no tight end has ever led the NFL in receiving yards. And Travis Kelce definitely has the potential to do it. There's 3 games left. He has like a 50-yard advantage on second place. Tyreek Hill is third. So Tyreek Hill might just take it from Travis Kelce, but Travis Kelce is having an amazing season. He's definitely the best tight end as far as receiving. Blocking, you could add somebody else. But Travis Kelce, he's an elite tight end. He's a matchup nightmare. We'll see how the Saints decide to go up against him. And then Tyreek Hill has 16 touchdowns, 14 receiving touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. He's a monster. He's a threat. He could do everything. You could put him on sweeps and arounds. You could put him on the slot outside. He could burn you deep. He could burn you down the middle. Tyreek Hill is a monster. That Chiefs offense is scary. If Drew Brees was playing, like I said, I think I would give him a chance. Just because Drew Brees has longer sustained drives. When you see them going on like 15-play drives, 8-9 minutes, take like 8 minutes of time of possession, just methodically go down the field. I think you need to do that against the Chiefs. Keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline. Keep him cold. Keep him just watching you play. I think that's the best way to beat the Chiefs. If you get into a shootout, if you're just throwing your defense out there every couple minutes, I think that's when it gets tough. Because the Chiefs could, if you try to go into a shootout with the Chiefs, that's bad news for you. The Chiefs have probably the best offense in the league. So. Not a lot of teams could do that. But I think they need to help out. I think they need to help out Taysom Hill. Kamara and Michael Thomas have to have big games. They have to be influential. Michael Thomas has to get open on third down, has to keep these drives going. Kamara, he's going to have to break the first tackle, break the second tackle, do a lot of screens, get Kamara in the open space, get your best players the ball. Taysom Hill has to get the ball into Michael Thomas' hands. Kamara needs to do his thing on these screens. That line has to block well. I think they need to run the ball more. I think Kamara only had like 11 runs against the Eagles. You need to run Kamara. I know you don't want him to get hurt, but if you have a chance against the Chiefs, you're gonna have to have the time of possession. Run Kamara, run screens to Kamara. Look for Michael Thomas on third down. Michael Thomas has to get open on third down. Has to be an option for Taysom Hill. And Taysom Hill has to play clean football. He can't have turnovers. He's kind of due for a turnover like every game. He has a fumble or he has like a dumb play. Taysom Hill has to take care of the football, use his legs as a running threat, tough out a couple yards, tough out some first downs, put your shoulder down. I think the Saints definitely have a chance if Taysom Hill plays good. If he keeps the offense on nice go-to-go distance or on nice third downs, they definitely have a chance. They have weapons. They have a tight end. They have an elite running back, elite wide receiver. Taysom Hill could run. That's the Chiefs' defense. They're the best. It's weird. I'm kind of confused on how to say it. They allow the fourth worst QB rating, or they have the best rating when it comes to keeping QBs. Whatever it is, however it is, they allow the fourth worst QB rating, and they have the fourth worst completion percentage allowed against them. So they're pretty good on the air. Because of that, I think the Saints have to run the ball, run Kamara. Just keep feeding Kamara. Kamara is an elite running back. He could put the offense on his back. I trust Kamara. I have him on my fantasy team. Feed Kamara. Take control of the clock. Play the possession game. I think the Saints will have a chance if they do that. But ultimately, even if they do all of that, without Drew Brees, I don't think they don't have enough on the offensive side. We saw the Dolphins force 3 turnovers from Mahomes last week, 3 interceptions, and Tua didn't play bad, and they still didn't have enough. And I think that's going to be more of the same against the Saints against the Chiefs. I think the Saints do have the defensive personnel to cause some turnovers to get a pick out of Mahomes, but ultimately it's not going to be enough, and the Chiefs are going to score more points than the Saints at the end of the day. And I have the Chiefs winning 27-21. That's my prediction. Chiefs hold on to that number 1 spot in the NFL, and the Saints are in trouble of falling down a 3rd seed. They'll have the Rams and the Seahawks breathing down their necks. That was my deep dive into the Saints and the Chiefs. This should be the best game of NFL Week 15, or the most hyped up one. But now let's go into the Premier League. My 3 games that I wanted to take a deeper dive into: Everton versus Arsenal, Tottenham versus Leicester, and my Wolves versus Burnley. Let's get started right away. Everton versus Arsenal, match day 14. Everton has been a roller coaster this whole season. They're going up, they're going down, they're going back up. I think right now they're on the upward trajectory. After starting so hot, after being top of the table, I think they were unbeaten in their first 5 games. Everybody was on that Everton hype train. Could they win the league? We quickly found out that they couldn't. I think they won like 1 out of their next 7 games. Really struggled. Looked like they were a fluke. It looked like they were done. It looked like they might even end up as a bottom 10 team. And then they got an upset win against Chelsea, and they piled that on. They compiled that with a 2-0 upset versus Leicester. So now they're 2 games in a row. They're looking like they're on the upward trajectory. They should get James back. Everton's definitely trending up. Arsenal, on the other hand, it's just been shame. It's been a disappointment the whole season. After being so promising, winning the FA Cup, beating Liverpool last year, winning the Community Shield. There's a lot to be excited about for this season, myself included. I look like a clown now, but I had Arsenal finishing 4th in my preseason rankings, and now they are 15th with 14 points after 13 games. What's going on with Arsenal? I do have Everton winning, mostly because I think Richarlison, Sigurdsson, Calvert-Lewin, and James Rodriguez, if he comes back, that's just going to be too much for Arsenal to defend against. I think Arsenal is not disciplined at the moment. I think Arteta, he doesn't deserve all the blame for the discipline, but he definitely deserves a good amount of it, like the majority of it. You're the coach. You're the one that holds your team accountable. You're the one that like picks the captain, or I mean, sometimes they let the players decide who the captain is. But at the end of the day, it's your locker room. You're the coach. You're the boss. You're the manager. You're the one that needs to set that locker room straight. And Arsenal has had 3 red cards in their last 5 games, just showing a complete lack of discipline, a complete like accountability for their role in their team. I know when I used to play soccer, they always used to say, don't leave your team one man down, because now you're really letting everybody down. You're hurting the team. And I don't think Arsenal has that mentality. I think those players are not thinking that way. They're thinking selfishly. They're just thinking for themselves. They're not thinking about the player next to them. They're not concerned about what a send-off means to the rest of the team. Like, it hurts their chances to get victories. It hurts their chances to, get to really show what they're capable of. And even if they don't get a red card, even if they have all 11 players, Arsenal has not been playing good for like over 2 months now. They look super lackluster on offense. They don't look like they have any creativity going forward. They look completely void of ideas. Arteta kind of looks lost out there too. I need to see more from Pepe. I need to see more from Aubameyang. Aubameyang was able to finally score after not scoring in like 10 straight games. Aubameyang was finally able to get off the mark against Southampton in the middle of the week. But is he going to be able to build on that? Is he going to be able to break down Everton's defense? Everton has not conceded a goal in the last 2 games, and they played Leicester and they played Chelsea, 2 pretty offensive team, 2 teams with a lot of offensive talent. They played up against Werner, Giroud, Havertz, even though Havertz, that's another story. They played against Vardy. They played against Madison, and they did not allow a goal. So very impressive by Everton, what they're doing on the defensive side right now. Very impressive how they didn't give up after that 7-game skid, after starting so hot and going down. The table is really crunched up. It's really condensed right now. They're all the way up to 5th right now after falling to like 10th. After being first, they're back up to 5th. I like what I'm seeing. I like Ancelotti. I've always thought of Ancelotti as a good coach. I like what he's building there. If they get James Rodriguez, that's a lot of creativity going forward. And if Arsenal has a chance to upset Everton, because it would be an upset, I think they need to get the ball into Saka's foot. He's their brightest player right now. He was their brightest player against Southampton. They don't get that tying goal without him. Brilliant footwork. He took on like 3 or 4 players, and then they were able to get a 1-2 with Aubameyang, and then Aubameyang was able to finish on the bottom right. I think the key for Arsenal is giving the ball to Saka, getting out of his way, letting him run at defenders, letting him create chances from that left side, crosses or cut in and shoot, look for his shot, look for players making runs off of his runs. That's going to be the key. Aubameyang has to be lively. He has to show effort. He has to be moving. He can't be too stagnant. He needs to move on from the left side, right side, middle. Essentially, I want to see Aubameyang just show a lot of effort, show a lot of interest in that game. If they're able to do that, Arsenal has a chance. But I just don't like what I've seen from Arsenal. I don't think they're going to be able to just turn it around like that. Everton is on a hot streak right now. They should get James Rodriguez back. He should. They're saying he has a high possibility of playing. Like I said, Everton has kept clean sheets against Chelsea and Leicester. I don't think Arsenal has enough going forward to break down Everton's defense. Even though Aubameyang was able to get off the scoring mark in the middle of the week, I think Everton takes this one at home at Goodison Park, and they keep climbing up the table. And we'll see how Everton finishes this season, and we'll see how Arsenal finishes this season. They're like 4 points out of relegation right now, or 5 points out of relegation. So we'll see if Arteta keeps his job. Like, the board still supports him. I mean, he was under Pep. People have raved. We'll see how Pep's coaching tree expands as the years goes on. But he's probably the biggest name to come out of our Coach Pep's coaching tree as of late. And he's struggling right now, so we'll see if Arteta's ever able to turn it around, or if he eventually gets let go by the Arsenal board. But I do have Everton winning 1-0 and continuing their hot streak. Like I said, Everton's a roller coaster. They started off hot, five out of 5 to start off the season, I believe, and then struggled in their next 6 or 7. And now they're on the upward trajectory again. 2 big wins against Chelsea and Leicester, and I think they compound that with another victory at home against Arsenal, and they keep going up. And then maybe this is a game where they flip and they go down. But I think this is the upward part of their roller coaster season. I think they get their 3rd straight win, and I think they beat Arsenal 1-0 at home. And the next game, 2 more games to go. Tottenham versus Leicester City. Tottenham comes in at 2nd place, 25 points. Leicester City comes in 4th. 24 points. Leicester City had a golden opportunity to go top of the table momentarily. They would have finished 2nd with Liverpool winning. They played Everton and they lost 2-0. Tottenham are coming off a heartbreak of a defeat versus Liverpool. I watched the whole game against Liverpool. Liverpool was definitely the more dominant team, the more aggressive team. They definitely had the most possession. They were definitely the aggressors. But for all of that I've said for Liverpool, Tottenham had the more clear chances. Tottenham had the more chances that you were like, whoa, they should have really scored off of those chances. And unfortunately for them, those chances fell to Bergwijn instead of Son. And Kane had one that he should have scored, and I know he's going to be thinking about that. Well, he should move on, but I know he was thinking about that. He should have scored that header and like 6 yards out, wide open header, missed it. I know Tottenham is definitely like really upset because of that loss, because the way they set up, even though it's boring, even though a lot of people don't like it, just waiting, playing the counterattack, parking the bus, just breaking fast on the fast. Basically, they're fast break. They're like a basketball team that just goes fast break all the time. And even if people don't like that, it worked. It had the opportunity to work. They had the chances for it to work. And I like how Mourinho said, he went up to Klopp after the game and he said the better team lost. Mourinho, he's a clown. I love Mourinho. He's entertaining. He's a character. He has a lot of personality. But anyways, I digress. Tottenham is definitely going to be wanting to get back into winning ways. They play at home. They're playing against Leicester. I know Vardy is going to want to get on the score sheet too. He had a chance against against Everton when the game was still in the balance. Open header too, almost like Kane. Middle of the field, middle of the box, middle of the goal. And he just couldn't direct it to the side, gave it straight to the keeper. That could have changed the whole game against Everton. I know Vardy expects more from himself. I expect more from Vardy. I know he expects more from himself. He should have finished that chance. He should have given his team a chance to get back into the game. He didn't. They lost 2-0. You move on. But Leicester kind of reminds me of Liverpool. They like going forward. They like having the ball. They like taking the game to the other team. They have a lot of offensive talent. Vardy, Maddison, you name it. They could definitely post a threat to to Tottenham. But I think Tottenham is going to sit back. Leicester kind of plays towards their tactics. They're going to get them on their counterattack. I do think Reguilón is going to start after playing Ben Davies in the left back position. I guess he wanted to be a little more defensive against Tottenham. I do think Mourinho will start Reguilón at the left back, give him a little bit more of an outlet on the left side. And Leicester City has lost 3 games in a row when visiting Tottenham, either at Wembley, at White Hart Lane, or now their new stadium. So I think ultimately Tottenham's just going to be hungry. They're going to be licking their wounds. They're going to move on from that Liverpool defeat, and I think they're going to win. They're going to beat Leicester. Mourinho is trying to make that team a bunch of bullies. Just in every time that Mourinho has an interview, I enjoy watching it. I enjoy how he communicates with the press. Because I think he's sending subliminal messages to opponents. He's sending subliminal messages to his team. The way Mourinho carries himself is a personality that his teams are going to take. And I like it because he's trying to build bullies. He's trying to change the mentality of Tottenham. He's trying to make them the bullies, make them like tough, make them gritty. And I think this is a game that is going to show how far he's come along with that team. If they're able to bounce back, tough defeat against Liverpool, if they're able to bounce back and get a convincing victory against Leicester. But yeah, have Son and Kane just being too much for that Leicester defense. I don't really like Leicester's defense. Johnny Evans. Yeah, I have some rough opinions about Johnny Evans. I don't like him as a center back. I don't know how he's made it that long in the Premier League, but I digress. I have Tottenham beating Leicester City 2-1 at home, getting back into winning ways and keeping, that 3-point distance against Liverpool and keeping it close. So 2-1 victory, Tottenham versus Leicester is my prediction. And to wrap up the podcast, Burnley versus Wolves on Monday. My Wolves are coming off a big victory against Chelsea in stoppage time. Pedro Neto with the stoppage time winner. Burnley is coming in, tying to Aston Villa, 17th place, 10 points. Burnley comes in. They're 1 point off relegation. Wolves, middle of the table, 10th place, 20 points. The table is really, really compact this year, so if Wolves win, they have a chance to shoot up the table. Also, Burnley, if they win, they get a chance to really separate themselves, get a little cushion off the bottom 3 teams. But I think both teams are coming off little different games. Wolves looked impressive against Chelsea, especially in the second half, especially after they went down 1-0. Podence, he's been a little magician. He's been amazing for the Wolves. I love Podence. Neto, even more. Neto has really taken that next step this season. He's filling in more than admirably for Jota after he left. Silva, he's young. He started 2 games. I think we keep starting Silva. He has potential. There's going to be growing pains. Like I said, he's 18 years old. He didn't even get that much first time with Porto. First team playing minutes with Porto. Now he's getting some minutes with Wolves. He said he loves it here. So I think we keep starting him. He has potential. Let's see how far this kid goes. And for Burnley, in their game against Aston Villa, drew 0-0, but they were completely dominated. If you watch the game, Aston Villa had 27 shots the whole game. So many shots. They dominated that game. They just couldn't find the target. El Ghazi had a lot of chances that he just couldn't finish. In the end, Grealish had some. I digress. Burnley just looked overmatched in that game. They're fighting for relegation. I think if the Wolves want to really make a claim for that top 6, top 7 European positions, they've been a top 7 team the last 2 seasons. If they want to get back to those positions, they need to win games like this. And I low-key want revenge because last year in Project Restart and when the Premier League is back after the hiatus for coronavirus last season, Wolves had a golden opportunity to fight for Champions League spots, to fight for European spots. And one of the deciding games of that season was Wolves versus Burnley. Raul Jimenez scored a beautiful volley, put it in the left side. Beautiful goal. It looked like it was going to be the 1-0 winner. I think he scored it like in the 79th minute. And then Burnley got a controversial penalty that I'm still upset about. And they were able to get the 1-1 tie, and Wolves lost 2 points in that game. That turned out to be the 2 points that Wolves needed to make it to Europa League. If they would have held on for that win, they would have had 2 more points. They would have passed Tottenham on the table, and Wolves would have had European football this year. But I guess sometimes everything happens for a reason. With the struggles that the Wolves have had this season, with Raul Jimenez going down, with some lack of depth that has shown this season, maybe it's for the best that the Wolves didn't play European soccer this year. Maybe it's for the best that we're not thinning out our team too much playing European competition. So everything happens for a reason. It is what it is. But I do want the Wolves to get revenge on Burnley for kind of killing their European hopes last year. I think the Wolves will go back to a back four. This is one of the teams that Wolves should be the aggressor. Wolves should be the team going for the win. Wolves shouldn't be the team sitting back. So I don't think there's a need for a back five, especially if they have been trying to go to a back four. Like in some games against Arsenal it worked. Didn't work against Liverpool. Didn't work against Aston Villa. But if they're trying to make that transition, games against Burnley, against teams in relegation zone, fighting for just staying in the Premier League, those are games where we got to try the back four. We got to take advantage of weaker teams, even though we haven't beaten Burnley in a while. But I think Adama needs to come off the bench. He still needs a lot of work. I think he does do a little better off the bench. He comes energized. He comes when the other team is a little bit tired. And he gives us a substitute on the offensive side. Right now, with Raul Jimenez being out, with Silva playing, we don't really have a lot of offensive subs. If you start Adama Traoré, if you start Portens, if you start Raul Neto, and if you start Silva, you look at the bench and you're like, damn, there's no real offensive substitute. So I think because of that, you keep Traoré on the bench. The starting lineup that I would like to see would be obviously Rui Patricio in the back. I actually want to get Kijana Hover, a start at the right back position. Semedo has been a liability on that left side. The Chelsea goal against the Wolves came from that right side. He caused the penalty against Aston Villa. I think it's a chance to give 18-year-old Hober a chance. Maybe he could shine. Let's find out what we have within him. And then I want to see the back four, Cody, Saiz, Marsal in the left. And then Moutinho's back, so he should get that starting position. I like to put Neves and Moutinho sitting in front of the back four. And then the three in front of them, I want to see Vitinha start as like the cam position, the center midfielder more ahead. And then Neto on the left, Podence on the right, Silva up top. I think that would be a real nice, strong starting 11. Let's give Hover a chance on the right side. Let's put Vitinha in the game. He got the game-winning assist to Neto last week. Like I said, in the limited time he's gotten, he looks like a quality player. He looks like the ball just kind of stays on his foot. He's a good dribbler. He looks comfortable with the ball on his foot. I'm excited to see what he's able to do. But if he doesn't play, then probably Den Docker. I would like to see Den Docker sit with Moutinho, and I would like to see Neves be a little further up the field, given more freedom to roam, not so much defensive duties. So that would be my back four. But I would like to see Hover instead of Semedo, just to give him a run, just to see how he does, and just to let Semedo know, hey, you don't have a guaranteed spot in the position. You don't have a guaranteed spot in the team, in the starting 11, no matter what your price tag is. Let's see how Hover does, in my opinion, especially against the team against Burnley. No offense to Burnley. Let's see how the Wolves do. But I am excited to see this game. It's on Monday. It's going to be like one of the last games of the week. So I'm excited to see if the Wolves are able to build under wind. And for Burnley, let's see if they're able to maybe get an upset. Wolves have been struggling to score goals before the Chelsea game. So Burnley might be able to just get a draw if they just sit back, hunker down, close the gaps. But I have the Wolves winning 1-0 and getting the victory at Burnley. And that wraps it up for my deep dive for the Premier League. And that wraps it up for this episode of the Hard to Handle Sports Podcast, episode number 23. Thank you so much for listening. Like I said, one more time, if you guys have any differences with me, with my podcast. I mean, not my podcast, with my predictions, with my deep dives. I'll put my Twitter in the description. So just tweet at me. Let me know what you guys think about the game. Let me think when I'm wrong, what I'm wrong with. Call me dumb, whatever. Just let me know what are your predictions, who's going to win this week. And have a great day. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much. And I'm out.